The truth women hope you never discover. Schopenhauer. Stoicism. What if I told you that one of history's most brilliant philosophers uncovered uncomfortable truths about human relationships that could completely change how you see the world around you? Arthur Schopenhauer, a man who influenced everyone from Nietzsche to Einstein, made observations about human nature that were so controversial, so cutting, that they're still debated 200 years later. But here's what's fascinating. When you combine his insights with ancient Stoic wisdom, you don't get cynicism, you get liberation. You get the tools to navigate relationships with clarity, purpose, and genuine strength. Stay with me for the next, because what you're about to discover might be the missing piece in your understanding of yourself and others. Before we dive deep, let's set the stage. And on this channel, we explore timeless wisdom that actually applies to your life today. If you're new here, we break down complex philosophical ideas and show you how to use them practically. Arthur Schopenhauer lived from 1788 to 1860, and he was, let's say, not the most optimistic guy. His mother once told him he was unbearable to live with, ouch, but maybe that difficult. Personality gave him a unique lens to see human nature, clearly, without the rose-colored glasses most of us wear. Now, Schopenhauer made some observations about relationships, attraction, and human behavior that many people find difficult to accept. But here's the thing, whether you agree with him or not, his insights force us to ask important questions about our own motivations and desires, and that's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics weren't pessimistic like Schopenhauer, but they were realistic. They understood that wisdom comes from seeing things as they truly are, not as we wish they were. So here's what we're going to do. First, we'll explore Schopenhauer's most provocative insights about human relationships. Then, we'll see how Stoic philosophy can help us process these ideas constructively. Finally, I'll show you 3 practical strategies you can use starting today. Sound good? Let's begin. Part 1. Schopenhauer's core insights. Schopenhauer believed that most human behavior is driven by what he called the will, a blind, unconscious force that pushes us towards survival and reproduction. According to him, we rarely act from pure reason or genuine choice. Insight 1. The illusion of individual choice. Let me give you an example that might make you uncomfortable. Schopenhauer argued that when we think we're choosing a romantic partner based on love, personality, or connection, we're actually being driven by biological programming designed to create the healthiest possible offspring. He wrote, "Every man in love will experience a marvelous disillusionment after he possesses the woman he was pursuing. He will wonder that he should have striven so anxiously for something that affords him no more satisfaction than any other woman would." Now, before you close this video in outrage, hear me out. Schopenhauer wasn't saying love doesn't exist. He was saying that what we often call love might be something else entirely. And that something else influences our choices more than we'd like to admit. Think about it. How many people do you know who claim they want deep, meaningful relationships, but consistently choose partners who are attractive but incompatible? Schopenhauer would say, that's the will in action, overriding conscious intention. Insight 2. The performance of virtue. Here's another one that stings. Schopenhauer suggested that much of what we call virtue or goodness is actually performance, designed to improve our social standing or mating prospects. He observed that people, regardless of gender, often present idealized versions of themselves during courtship, emphasizing qualities they think will be attractive. The caring, devoted, endlessly supportive person during the dating phase might become demanding, critical, or distant once the relationship is secured. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. Schopenhauer was observing patterns, not declaring universal laws. Many people are genuinely virtuous, caring, and consistent. But his point was that we should examine our motivations honestly. Insight 3. The strategy of attraction. Perhaps Schopenhauer's most controversial observation was about the strategies people use in relationships. He noticed that both men and women employ different tactics to achieve their goals, but they often conceal these strategies even from themselves. He argued that people often become masters of emotional manipulation, not necessarily through conscious evil intent, but through evolutionary programming. The goal isn't necessarily to hurt others, but to secure resources, commitment, or genetic advantages. Now, before this sounds too dark, remember, Schopenhauer believed everyone does this to some degree. It's not about one gender being worse than another. It's about human nature, itself being more complex and self-interested than we usually admit. The question isn't whether these patterns exist, it's what we do with this knowledge once we have it. Transition, the Stoic response. Okay, so if you're feeling a bit overwhelmed right now, I get it. Schopenhauer's observations can feel pretty heavy. You might be thinking, great, so everyone's just manipulating everyone else? What's the point of relationships at all? But this is exactly where Stoic philosophy becomes incredibly valuable. The Stoics faced similar questions about human nature, but they came to very different conclusions about what to do with these insights. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The Stoics would look at Schopenhauer's observations and say, okay, so human nature is complex and often self-serving. Now what? How do we live with wisdom and virtue despite these realities? That's what we're going to explore next. Part 2, the Stoic framework. The beautiful thing about Stoic philosophy is that it doesn't require us to have illusions about human nature to live meaningful, connected lives. In fact, the Stoics believed that seeing clearly, even when what we see is uncomfortable, is the foundation of wisdom. Stoic Principle 1. Focus on your own character. Epictetus taught that we can't control other people's actions, motivations, or strategies, but we can control our own responses. Instead of becoming cynical about others' potential manipulations, we can become more intentional about our own integrity. Let's say you're dating someone, and you start wondering, are they being genuine, or are they just trying to secure commitment from me? The Stoic approach isn't to become paranoid or manipulative in return. It's to ask, regardless of their motivations, how can I show up as the most honest, authentic version of myself? This is revolutionary because it puts the power back in your hands. You're not a victim of other people's potential strategies. You're the author of your own character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Applied here, the best response to potential manipulation is not counter-manipulation, but radical authenticity. Stoic Principle 2. Understand the nature of desire. Schopenhauer saw human desire as a source of suffering. We want things. We get them and feel empty. Then we want new things. The cycle never ends. The Stoics saw this too, but they had a different solution. Instead of trying to eliminate desire, the Stoics taught us to understand it. When you feel intense attraction to someone, instead of being overwhelmed by it, you can observe it with curiosity. Interesting. My mind is creating a fantasy about this person. What am I really seeking here? Connection? Validation? Security? I remember reading about Seneca, who was incredibly wealthy and had access to all kinds of pleasures, but he regularly practiced voluntary discomfort to remind himself that happiness didn't come from external things. He wasn't becoming miserable, he was becoming free. The same principle applies to relationships. When you understand your own desires clearly, you're less likely to project unrealistic expectations onto others or to be manipulated by your own unconscious needs. Stoic Principle 3. Practice constructive detachment. This doesn't mean becoming cold or unloving. Stoic detachment means caring deeply while accepting that you can't control outcomes. Let me be super clear about this because it's often misunderstood. Stoic detachment doesn't mean not caring about people. Marcus Aurelius deeply loved his wife and children. It means caring about people while accepting that they have their own will, their own motivations, and their own journey. If someone is using strategies or games in your relationship, Stoic detachment allows you to see it clearly without becoming bitter. You can decide how to respond based on your values, not your emotions. Maybe you discovered that someone you're dating has been less than honest about their intentions. The non-Stoic response might be anger, revenge, or becoming manipulative yourself. The Stoic response is, I see what's happening here. This doesn't align with what I want in a relationship. How do I respond with integrity? You might choose to have an honest conversation, set boundaries, or end the relationship, but you do it from a place of strength and clarity, not reactive emotion. Part 3. Practical applications. All right, philosophy is great, but how do you actually use this stuff in real life? I'm going to give you 3 practical strategies that combine Schopenhauer's insights with Stoic wisdom. Strategy 1. The motivation check. Before you make any significant decision in a relationship, whether it's romantic, friendship, or professional, ask yourself, what am I really trying to achieve here? Be brutally honest. Are you trying to get validation or approval? Secure some kind of resource or commitment? Prove something to yourself or others? Genuinely connect and contribute? This isn't about judging yourself harshly. It's about seeing clearly. Once you understand your true motivations, you can make choices that align with your values rather than just your impulses. I once realized I was being extra helpful to a colleague because I wanted them to like me, not because the help was genuinely needed. Once I saw this clearly, I could choose to help from a better place or to focus my energy elsewhere. Strategy 2. The reality test. When you find yourself strongly attracted to someone or deeply invested in how they see you, practice what I call the reality test. Ask yourself, what do I actually know about this person versus what I'm imagining? Am I responding to who they really are or to the fantasy I've created? What evidence do I have for my beliefs about their character or intentions? This isn't about becoming paranoid or suspicious. It's about distinguishing between facts and projections. Schopenhauer believed we often fall in love with our own projections, rather than real people. The reality test helps you see more clearly. Strategy 3. The integrity anchor. This is the most important one. No matter what games or strategies you encounter from others, you anchor yourself in your own integrity. Create a personal code. What kind of person do you want to be in relationships? Regardless of how others behave, write it down. Examples might be, I will be honest about my intentions. I will not manipulate others for my benefit. I will communicate directly rather than through games. I will treat others with respect, even if they don't reciprocate. Here's what's beautiful about this. When you're anchored in your own integrity, you become less susceptible to manipulation because you're not desperately seeking something from others. You're complete in yourself. And paradoxically, this makes you more attractive to the right people, those who appreciate authenticity, while naturally filtering out those who prefer games and manipulation. The Stoics called this living according to nature, not biological nature, but your highest human nature. So here's what we've discovered today. Schopenhauer's observations about human nature might be uncomfortable, but they don't have to make us cynical. When filtered through Stoic wisdom, they become tools for clarity and personal freedom. Remember, you can't control others' motivations or strategies, but you can control your own character. Understanding your desires gives you power over them. Integrity is your anchor in a world of uncertain motivations. I want to leave you with this thought from Marcus Aurelius. Confine yourself to the present. You can't change the fact that human nature is complex. You can't guarantee that everyone will be honest with you. But right now, in this moment, you can choose who you want to be. If this video gave you a new perspective, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's one insight that resonated with you? And if you want more content exploring how ancient wisdom applies to modern life, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Here's a challenge. This week, try the motivation check before making any significant relationship decision. What did you discover about yourself? Share your insights in the comments. But remember, vulnerability requires wisdom, so share what feels right for you. Next week, we're exploring how Marcus Aurelius dealt with betrayal and disappointment. Trust me, his approach will surprise you. Until then, stay curious, stay authentic. And remember, philosophy isn't just about understanding the world. It's about becoming the person you want to be in that world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.